Today I'm going to be going over my gyno surgery that I got at 14 years old. I am now 15. It's a year later. I got it done last November. I'm going to be going over the mental health effects of the surgery, the actual surgery itself, what I had to do before the surgery, and what I had to do after for recovery, which did take about a month. So first up, let's talk about the actual getting into the surgery and what you have to do before. So you have to schedule for me personally, this is all, my situation. I had to schedule a doctor's appointment. I had to go in. They looked at my gyno. They looked at my breast tissue. They confirmed that it was gynecomastia. They drew on me with a Sharpie a little bit. I actually did have to get or I guess I didn't have to, but the doctor did want to inspect my genitalia to make sure it wasn't a hormonal problem that was still causing the gyno and making it worse, which after he confirmed it wasn't, we decided on surgery. Well, I was photographed before my surgery with my gyno in the surgeon's office. The night before the surgery, I went out to dinner, and then when I woke up the next morning, I personally I took pictures, for before and after. I had to shower with antibacterial soap. If you've ever had surgery, you might know what I'm talking about. Then when we got to the hospital, it was me, my grandma, and my dad. We checked in, and we had to sit in the waiting room for about 30 minutes. I believe a little over 30 minutes. So it was get my nerves going. But then we were taken back to the room with the hospital bed, and they covered the surgery. The surgeon came in. I got to talk to him, see him. He drew on me with a Sharpie, on my chest for him during surgery, and to point out to me what they were going to be doing and explain the whole process to me before we actually do it. They put an IV in my arm, which I almost passed out from because I don't do well with needles. But they laid me back. They gave me warm blankets. They gave me the grippy socks. I had to change into a gown, and I believe I had a hairnet on. But then eventually, after they got everything going, I got to talk to my anesthesiologist, and he came in and flipped up with me. It was pretty cool. He was a cool guy. But then the nurse, she was very nice. She gave me a cup of pills that I took, and then they started moving my bed. They pushed me back to the operating room. They wheeled me through the place, and it was pretty fun because I was taking the pills for the anesthesia, and I was getting a little high, so I was looking at the ceiling, and it was a little weird, funky. Everything was a little funnier. But I had to push myself up off the bed and move over to the operating table, and they covered me with warm blankets. And the pills were so strong that I actually only took about a breath or two out of the oxygen mask before I just was absolutely passed out. And I woke up, I think it was about 3 hours later. Um, I had no clue. I didn't even dream. It was in and out. Obviously, they did the whole operation during that time, but I woke up a little lackadaisical, a little out of it. Um, but eventually, I regained consciousness after 15 or 20 minutes, kind of being on autopilot. Everybody told me that I was awake and moving, but I actually didn't really come back to it till I was like taking pictures with my family. I was taking a picture with my dad and my grandma, and I finally realized I was like, oh, I'm awake. It's over. I could feel the bandages on my chest and the vest that I had on. The IV was then taken out of my arm. I was still very medicated, so I couldn't really feel anything. But they unhooked me and everything. They put me in a wheelchair and they wheeled me out of the hospital. I went and got, they should call it breakfast. It was noon by then. My surgery was, I believe, at like 10 a.m. And so we got out of there, afternoon. But anyways, I went and got a bowl of soup. I couldn't really move my arms. I couldn't do anything. I had to stay still with my arms, and I couldn't move for probably the first 2 or 3 days. Couldn't do anything. So I had to get help getting in and out of the car, and I had the vest on, and I had drains on my waist for the any extra fluid draining, which I'll go over that. It was terrible. Those drains were probably the end of me, dramatically, of course. But anyways, once I got home, I went over my medications, which they put me on opioids. And since I planned ahead for the surgery, I got vitamins with collagen in them, which I did, which I do believe helped with the recovery and healing my skin and keeping me healthy while I was recovering. Which also my diet played a big role in that, which I will go over that eventually. But the first night when I got home, I was still kind of out of it. Time was going very quickly. Or like time was going slow for me, but it was passing very fast. I just laid on the couch. Uh, but the first night you have to drain the drains, or actually for the first 3 days that you have those drains in, you have to keep draining them. And for me personally, I didn't get like any fluid out of them. I got about a milliliter a day, and um, the max that you can have is like 30, or like if it goes over 30, they get concerned, about your fluid leaking out of your body. But once you drain those drains over the next 3 days, it will hurt. For me personally, it was the worst thing ever. I got my surgery. I believe I got my surgery on a Friday night, and so when I woke up Saturday morning, I had to drain them again, and I was able to take the bandages off the next morning. So I slept that night with the bandages on, and you have to sleep at a 45-degree angle, like, sitting up. You can't lay on your back for, I believe it's like the first week. But for the first 3 days, you have to have those drains in, and they're held in place by stitches. So it's kind of uncomfortable if you're queasy, if you're a wheezy person like I am. Anyways, draining the fluid kind of hurt because there's actually a tube that they place and it goes all the way up through your chest. So when you squeeze the drain to get the fluid out, it will suck fluid and pull your skin into your chest, and your chest is sore from the liposuction that they do during the surgery. It is terrible. It hurts. You will not like it. At least that was my experience with it. But I believe it was, yeah, the day after the surgery, you're allowed to shower. You have to wear a necklace with a little mesh bag on it to hold the drains that usually just clip to the compression vest that they have you wear. But you're allowed to shower, so you don't really sit in your own like filth. But for the first 3 days, I didn't feel good at all. I didn't want to move. I was sore. I was tired. I was on opioids, so I was way out of it. I wasn't myself. And I felt pretty disgusting sitting on the couch. But, anyways, after 3 days, I got in the car and we went out back. We went back to the surgeon's office. They removed the drains, which the tube they pulled it out. It didn't hurt that much. They said it wouldn't hurt, and the nurses were really nice that were doing it. I was a little confused, and I believe one of the nurses did get a little upset with me, but a lot of people do. A really nice nurse came in and she helped me through it. Kind of held my hand, gave me a water bottle. But anyways, we got the stitches out that held the actual drain in, and they pulled the tubes out. They put a band-aid on that incision where the stitches and the tubes were in, which I do still have marks from those tubes. Those marks can go away if you treat them properly. My surgeon recommended rubbing them like daily, which I ended up not doing because it felt like it was too much work for me. I don't mind the very small incisions. They're probably about a quarter to a half an inch, not even, right below my chest. It's not a big deal. A lot of people know that I got the gyno surgery, and I've explained it to them, so it doesn't affect me too much. Now, after a week, I was able to finally lay down on my back and sleep, and so I did. I ended up still staying on the couch because at the time I had a waterbed and I didn't want to risk rolling over onto my side or my, God forbid, my front of my body during the recovery process. So I ended up sleeping on the couch for about a week or two. Eventually, I think it was about the second to the third week for recovery. During this whole time, I was sticking to my diet, which I do recommend because I didn't want to gain fat. So because I had my coach during this time, me and my coach took my carbs out of my diet, and I was eating chicken and vegetables every single day, which helped me stay lean. And on my diet, I also had a protein shake, but for the first about week, I couldn't actually even shake the protein shake myself. I had to have my dad do it. I couldn't reach my arms past here, without it hurting way too terribly. I couldn't bring them up past about here, so about 45-degree angle from the side, and I couldn't bring them up past my chest, past my about like my nipple line. For the first, I'd say week. And second week, I got a little more mobility back. Like I was able to go cook for myself and kind of shake my protein shakes up. And then by the third week, I actually returned to the gym, just doing cardio. Um, do not lift for the first, at minimum, 3 or 4 weeks. Please take the recommended amount of recovery time off. Recover smart, like I did with my multivitamins and my diet. My diet being very strict, so I didn't gain body fat, and it, provided me with enough protein to heal that skin and, all the damage that caused during surgery, because it is a very invasive surgery. But after about a month, I went back to the doctor's office. They said I can stop wearing the vest, which was a relief because the vest wasn't easy, and I only had one of them, so I had to, wash it because I did have to go back to school for about, I believe it was a week or two before Christmas break. So I timed this surgery out last year where it would be right before Thanksgiving break. So I'd have a couple days off right after the surgery, and then I'd go back about 2 weeks after the surgery for only a week or two, and then I had Christmas break. So I had quite a bit of time to recover and just sit at home without missing too much school. I'm now homeschooled, but this was, when I was still in school last year. By about a month post surgery, I was back in the gym. About 3 weeks post surgery, I was back in the gym doing cardio and some ab work. Not too much, I believe I was. I can't remember too well. And then by a month, I was hitting arms again. And then about 5 or 6 weeks, I was doing very light chest movements such as push-ups. On the third week, I was doing legs. Third week, I was doing legs and cardio. By the 1 month mark, I was doing arms. By the fifth or sixth week post surgery, I was back into doing light chest movements. And then after about, let's say 7 weeks, so a little over a month and a half, I was completely back to my full on chest training, full back to my normal weights. I was regaining my muscle. I was back to my old, physique, which wasn't too well. Which I will throw up pictures of me before my surgery and after the surgery throughout this video, I'm sure. But my physique before my midsection was bad. My physique after my midsection still wasn't the best, but it was a little better actually from just sitting at home, being in a calorie deficit and sitting on the couch, not expending too much energy. Which, speaking of, for about the week or 2 weeks after your surgery, you will be very tired. And for me personally, I would get up, I would go somewhere, and within not even 30 seconds, I would be able to lay back down and fall asleep for, a whole night's sleep, 6 or 8 hours. So I had to sit on the couch and I had to rest, or else, I'd go somewhere and I'd be absolutely gassed out within 30 minutes of even just talking to people. That tired me out. It was very, very energy consuming, very tiring, a recovery process, very draining. The mental health side of the surgery wasn't too terrible. You definitely want to keep your spirits up, which I have a video talking about mental health in general with bodybuilding. And if you're getting gyno surgery, you're probably into bodybuilding. And if you're not into bodybuilding and you're just looking at this video for gyno surgery in general, it's good on you. I suggest the surgery, actually. It helped with my confidence a major amount. I mean, once I was back into lifting and training chest, I would, strut into the gym, pumping my chest out because I was confident. I didn't have gyno anymore. I felt like I could just be myself, I felt like I could take my shirt off without being judged. It was amazing. So you will get an increase of confidence after the surgery as long as the surgeon does well and it looks good. I did have a extra little bit of skin on my left side because there was a lot of gyno. And so I kind of dealt with that skin flap, but for me personally, since I'm into bodybuilding, I built up my chest, and the skin kind of stretched itself back to normal. I am right now taking a peptide to help my loose skin from that surgery and from losing weight, which is just the GHK CU topical cream, which I do actually recommend post-surgery, probably a month after. Probably if you get back into the gym or you get back to exercising a month after, which I do suggest exercising post-surgery since it'll help fill out your chest and make you, look better. In general, I suggest that exercise for anybody. I don't know why you wouldn't be doing it. But as for the mental health side, I was pretty high spirited during it. The opioids did bring down my mood and made me into a completely different person, which was scary. So I actually ended up not taking all of the opioid medication because I took it a couple days when I had to walk out of the house. Because it was around Thanksgiving, so I went to my family member's house for Thanksgiving, and I ended up taking the medication that day. I went to the store one of the days, and anytime I would leave the house and have to go walk somewhere, I would take the opioids because it was helping with the pain when I had to get up and go move about. But the mental health, you get a confidence boost once you are done with the recovery process, and during the actual before the surgery itself, I didn't have a lot of doubts, or I didn't have a lot of I, I didn't regret the surgery. I didn't have any regretful thoughts before the surgery or after the surgery by any means. After the surgery, it was kind of a bummer to have to sit there and explain it to people because I had people add me, on social media, and they would ask, what is this surgery about? Are you okay? And I had to explain to them that it was a cosmetic surgery, that I am a male. That is a question you will get asked if you were a girl. If you get gyno surgery, you will be asked if transition, which um, it was funny in my opinion. But so I had to explain it to people. But anyways, I felt very good about the surgery. I felt I made the right choice. I recommend it for anybody looking into the surgery that has a major amount of gyno. If you just have puffy nipples and you want to get the surgery because you're not, you lack confidence because of that, I understand it. And if you have the money, I would suggest doing it. Now, if you do not have the money for the surgery and you just have puffy nipples, it is not going to be the end of your world. If you have full-on breast tissue and you have full-on breasts that has stretched your skin over time, such as I did, I do suggest getting the surgery at some point in your life. My personal surgery, I believe the total came out to around 7,100 for the surgeon and the facility fees and the anesthesia, and then obviously groceries will play into that if you're sticking to a diet after, and things like the multivitamins, which are probably around $20 for a bottle for the only for the month of recovery that you have. And then the compression shirts, I got two of them. I think it came out to about $60 for I only bought two compression shirts. I just traded in and out for about a week or two that I wore them, and then I could go back to wearing normal shirts, so it was fine. Gyno surgery has helped me tremendously, and I suggest it for anybody that is blessed with the position to be able to have it done and performed properly by the right surgeon and the right people. And I do suggest making sure your family supports it and you have a good support circle, because I couldn't do it without my family supporting me during the surgery and after the surgery and helping me. If you are alone, try to find friends that will support you and help you during it. I had friends come over the night that I got back from my surgery. I had friends come over and they sat there next to me on the couch for days on end. They were able to get up and move. Uh, they had energy unlike me, but they decided to, sit with me. So I'm very grateful for them. I'm very grateful for my friends during the gyno surgery process, and I couldn't do it without my whole support group and my circle of people. Thank you guys for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. Um, Let me know how I did with this video, and let me know if you guys have any questions about my gyno surgery that I can respond to, cover, or even make another video on this topic.